Hi, my name is Wendy, and I work with Agape First Ministries as the director of the prayer ministry. And I'm here with Anna Hume. Anna, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Anna's going to share a little of her testimony. It's been, about a year now that you've been doing Emmanuel prayer with me.
Yeah.
So, can you share what was going on in your life when you first decided to engage in Emmanuel prayer with Agape First Ministries?
Yeah, I kind of was at this place where I was kind of hitting the same walls over and over again. I've done therapy and I've read a lot of books, and I feel like I had a lot of answers as to why I was struggling emotionally, and yet not feeling like I had a lot of answers about how to overcome. And so it was through a program I was involved with, Life Model Works, that I actually met Wendy. And one of the things that they encourage is that we do a manual prayer and a manual journaling. And so I just began that process with Wendy at that time, just really looking to receive more from the Lord about answers as to why I was still struggling so much in just my personal relationships and in my emotional well being.
Wow. Can you remember what it was like before or during your very first session?
Yeah, I think, you go into something new and you're always uncertain. Like there's just this level of like, "W- what is this and what is it going to be like for me?" And I think that first session, I really saw how quickly the Lord can come in and speak to something so deep. And and it really, after that first session, I was like, well, I want more of this because it really came into some places where I didn't realize um, I could access with the Lord, of just going back to some really deep wounds and hearing him speak to those things. And then how powerfully hearing the Lord speak to something versus reading it in a book or understanding the wound, um, having the Lord meet you in that place and speak his healing and his love and his heart for you. It really, um, it was really just something where I was like, this, I need more of this. I need to hear God speak to me more over the wounds of my past and even just things I was continuing to carry.
Was it scary or painful at all?
I mean, no, I mean, it's something new. So I feel like for me, there's always a little like hesitation or anxiety maybe about something new, but the process of it is not scary or painful. Yeah.
Awesome. Could you describe what a typical session is like for you? Now,
Yeah.
I know that everybody's different and everything's always going to be unique, but what's it like for you?
Yeah. I, usually come in. I don't always have something specific that I'm looking for, just really coming in open and wanting to meet with the Lord. And we usually do some breathing and just calming the body and coming to a place of peace, and then engaging in a memory with the Lord or a place where He's met me. And from that point, kind of going forward, just listening to Him. And it's always amazing to me how He guides that, because, like I said, oftentimes I don't always come in with something specific I need to hear from God about this, but this openness to God, what do you want to speak today? And often leave the session just surprised at what God spoke to because it wasn't anything I was expecting. And I usually leave the session feeling so encouraged and refreshed, and just feel like I have something new from the Lord that I can now continue to go back to when I'm struggling, a promise or a word from Him that really does kind of carry me as I go forward.
I like that. I like that. What do you feel are some of the most significant things the Lord's shown you throughout your time in manual prayer?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two things that I think have really changed my life and transformed my life. The first one is pretty quickly into beginning Emmanuel prayer. Lord addressed the fact that I didn't know how to receive His love. And I knew
Mm,
God loved me, and that understanding was there. I knew that I was, oh, God loves me. I know He does. But there was something in me that didn't actually engage with that of receiving his love. And the Lord exposed that to me and then began to show me what it feels like to receive his love. And it just for me to be able to then go, "Oh, this is a huge part of my life in my walk with the Lord I didn't even know I was really missing out on," because I had to go beyond that understanding that he loved me to really experiencing that feeling of being loved. And so for me,
Mhm.
like, that really has shifted so much in my life. And then in that process, beginning to recognize when I was struggling, I kinda would hide away rather than going to the Lord and looking to him for help and bringing my problems to him. If I was struggling emotionally, I kind of just from, all my past and history would go kind of try to deal with it myself because I didn't feel like I could bring these unpleasant feelings and emotions to him. And that shift from when I'm dealing with big feelings running and hiding to when I'm dealing with big feelings really coming to him and just saying, "Here they are, here I am," and allowing the Lord to minister to me, or just even to meet with me in that place has really kind of changed even just my day to day. Getting up and spending time with Him in the mornings has really looked a lot different with those two things in mind going forward.
Wow, that's awesome. So, what do you feel has changed most in your life since you've been doing this?
I I have often struggled with depression in the past, and I'm recognizing that pattern a little more. And the biggest thing is when I start feeling hopeless, I do those 2 things I talked about of just recognizing that he loves me and that I can go to him with those feelings and begin to use those memories, those core memories of God's goodness to me and entering into gratitude with him, really kind of then lifts me out of that place. And so it's really stabilized my emotions, where before I feel like they were really, I would go really high, really low. Now I can see that happening and I come back to a place of joy with him. Of God, no, you're good to me. And this is how I know you're good to me. And I'm not going to give in to this narrative that says there's no hope. I'm not going to give in to this idea that, life's there's no joy in life. I'm going to come back to the places I know in you there is joy.
Mm, I like that, Joy.
Mhm.
What would you say to someone who says, I have a good relationship with God and I can do that on my own. I don't need someone to help me.
Yeah, and I do that too. I journal. I use an Immanuel journaling process, and that has also been a big step for me in healing. But there's something so different having somebody helping you in that process of kind of seeing you if you're like getting upset or in a process, bring you back to that memory or asking questions. Where is the Lord in that? Where do you see God in that? Or how are you feeling that in your body? Sometimes when you're in that process on your own, it's good to have somebody on the outside, calling you back to the Lord or calling you back to this memory, this gratitude with him to kind of recenter into his goodness and his faithfulness. And it's very different. Like doing the manual journaling process is wonderful and I love it and it's a wonderful tool for my life. But doing it with somebody who's helping you in that process, it's it's a significant difference for me in how I hear the Lord, just having somebody else kind of calling you back to those places.
So if someone came to you and says, well, I'm thinking about Emmanuel
Mhm.
prayer, what would you say to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the thing I keep telling people in my life that I'm like, I really feel like you need to do this is kind of back to what I said at first. Like, therapy is great. Therapy has been so good for helping me understand and to be self aware. But really, for me, this process of Emmanuel prayer has brought healing in ways um, that years of therapy really hadn't punctured into that place of brokenness and that root that needed to come out in order for me to walk in wholeness. And so, yeah, I would recommend anybody who's willing to enter in and hear the Lord and let him speak to those areas of brokenness, I think there's great healing that can take place.
Thank you, Anna. I love it. Is there anything else you want to add or anything you'd like to say to anybody listening?
Yeah, I just would say that sometimes we feel like maybe we don't hear the Lord as well as others. Or at least for me in my life, like I struggle to hear God or whatever. And Immanuel prayer, it's such a place of kind of breaking that lie and breaking that barrier of having somebody else helping you kind of draw out what actually is the voice of the Lord in your life and what is he saying and how is he saying it. I think getting past that fear that when I come here, I won't hear. Like everybody else might be doing this well, but I'm going to come and God's not going to say anything to me. And just that is a lie. And to just really push in and allow the Lord to come and do something and not be afraid that you're going to come in and you'll be like the one person, right? Who God doesn't speak to, or you're not going to be able to get it, or it just I would challenge anybody just to really press in past that belief because the Lord is so willing to speak to us. He loves us
Mhm.
so much, and his heart is for our healing and our wholeness, and he's not going to withhold from us.
Mm. Yeah, well, thank you. That's awesome. I really appreciate your coming on and sharing and being vulnerable. Um, yeah, so thank you. And I look forward to seeing with you again.
Yes, yes. It's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. It really is my pleasure. Thank you.
Bless you.